Yeah, so welcome. Please be patient for a little bit. Yes, we've got more and more guests coming, visiting. Just for information reason, Ania Kraśnicka is a certified Białystok guide. She's carrying she's guiding the let's say the city tours with different tours with different subjects in English. And you can contact Ania by going to her blog, to her webpage, which is www.białymstoksubiektywnie.com, which you see at the bottom left side of your screen. And yes, it's too early to say thank you to Ania because she has to do her job at the beginning. But really, we are very happy, very happy that Ania accepted our invitation to show us around historical Jewish Białystok. Also with us, that's the joint project at Rotary Club Białystok and Rotary Club Modi'in. We've got with us Sigal. We've got with us also Ania. Ania is our president-elect. My name is Tomasz, and we've got Sigal, who is the president of Rotary Club Modi'in. So we are now 1 minute to go, and let's say just I will continue saying technical stuff. So if you would like to ask the question, please use the Q&A, question and answers at the bottom of your screen. Due to the safety reasons, we deactivated the chat. So at the end of Ania's presentation, we collect all of the questions and we raise the questions to our guide, to Ania. If you would like to say something during or after, let's say the presentation, the guided tour, then please also use question and answer to raise such a request. So we've got 7 o'clock, so 8 o'clock in Israel. So welcome, and maybe as the tradition, Sigal, maybe you will start.
Hello everyone, ברוכים הבאים להרצאה שלנו על טיול וירטואלי בביאליסטוק. אנחנו שמחים מאוד שאתם מצטרפים אלינו. אנחנו ממועדון רוטרי מודיעין ומועדון רוטרי ביאליסטוק. יש לנו את המדריכה, אניה, שהיא מומחית לתחום היהדות בעיר ביאליסטוק, ואנחנו תכף נשמע את הדברים שלה. מטעמי בטיחות אנחנו דאגנו להשתיק את כל האפשרויות פה בזום, אבל יש את האפשרות להשתמש ב-Q&A, לשאול שאלות, או בצ'אט.
Okay, thank you. So next, I would like to ask Ania Krótko, our president-elect, the Rotary Club Białystok, to say a few words.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anna Krótko, and as Tomek told that I will be next president, I'm very happy to take a part in this kind of presentation, and I hope that this is the first step, and we will have more this kind of webinars. Thank you, and have a nice and wonderful evening with us together.
Okay, so thank you, Ania. I would like to ask also Gidi Piper to say a couple of words for us. So Gidi, stage is yours.
Yes, hello. Do you see me? Do you hear me? I don't know.
We are hearing you. Yes.
Can you see me?
Yeah.
Open camera.
Yeah, open camera. Yeah, but why? Wait. Hmm. Hmm? No, I don't know why the camera. Then you can. Oh, I see me in the stills. You can hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we can.
So, Gidi,
Hello?
We are hearing you.
what's there?
גידי, אנחנו שומעים אותך. אנחנו הורדנו הרשאות, אנחנו שומעים.
למה לא רואים? לא יודע. Okay, but everyone hears me. That's most important. Thank you very much, Sigal, and thank you very much, our hosts from Białystok. To tell you the truth, I've never been to Białystok, and I would like one day to come to your city. I read a lot about Białystok, and I have some people that I know that they have been born even in Białystok. If you can hear me, it's a pity, but my roots somewhere are also in Poland. My grandparents were, and later they moved to Germany, and then they found their, unfortunately, the end was for them too in Poland again, in Lublin, and then to Piaski. That was the last minute that they have been alive, and that's very sad for us all, for me, of course, my family. But we in Israel, we are looking always to the future, and also in Rotary. I can tell you that my grandson, one of my grandsons, was a week ago in Poland, and he came back with a lot of fantastic memories about his travel to Poland, of course, to what we call Yom HaShoah. And really, he is under impression, and we speak a lot about it, and he can tell us, and we are telling him. And what I wanted to mention that, first of all, I don't know if you know, but we in Rotary, we have an inter-country committee between Poland and Israel. And we are quite active with projects that maybe not everyone knows about it, but the last project that we have been invited, and we did a global grant, and it was also a part of what we call the Shoah, and the project is a memory of Treblinka. Maybe you have a chance to read about it, but it's a very important project, and we donated quite a lot of money for the project, and we are still involved. And what we can ask you as a Rotary in Poland, let's start the relations between our two countries, and let's see how we can do some more projects together, especially with the youth, because it's very important, the youth of both countries, Polish youth and Israeli youth. And I see a lot of possibilities, and I have many friends as you in Poland, and maybe the city of Białystok, we can develop something together. Also to find a sister club in Israel, in Rotary Israel. We have 60 clubs. Yes.
Gidi.
Yes.
Rotary Club Modi'in is a sister club to Rotary Club Białystok. Already.
Who is Modi'in. Okay.
Yes, and we are also the sister club with Nina Tranana. So
you have two. Okay, then I hope that we shall hear in the near future more about projects. I hope, really hope, in the bottom of my heart, because this is not the most important and mentioning project that we can develop.
So Gidi, actually, this is actually our joint project between Modi'in and Białystok, and we are planning, and we already got art exhibition, but this will be the part of the next, maybe the next story. Maybe we'll tell more about our projects at the district conference and so on. But now I would like to give the stage to our guide.
Of course. Then thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
See you soon. See you soon back, all of you. And thank you all the Rotarians who are doing so much work for the relations, for the good relations with your country, with the both countries, Israel and Poland. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Gidi. And yes, now I will just mention this once again, that please, if you got anything you would like to ask and so on, chat is deactivated. Please use question and answers Q&A box, and then we'll collect those questions and ask those questions at the end of Anya's presentation. Yeah, so Anya, stage is yours. We are just muting ourselves, and yes, just listen to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, hi everyone. My name is Ania. As it was told, I'm a blogger, I'm a guide. Możecie ściszyć u siebie? Sorry, some technical problems at the very beginning. So I'm also a former teacher and a historian. So today I would like to take you on a walk through the former city of Białystok, former Jewish city of Białystok. Before we start, I would like to show you the beautiful buns which you bought. You forgot about this, so guys, yes, these are some symbols of the former Jewish city of Białystok. As you can see, they are quite tasty, and soon I will tell you more about it. So let's start. I teraz nie szaruje mi się, nie działa. Okej. No właśnie. Patrz. Nie działa. Okay, one more time. Was working and yes. Okay, we can start now. At the very beginning, you can see some old pictures from Białystok. Soon I will tell you more about them, but let's start from the very, very beginning of Białystok, because to say something about Jewish community, we have to say something about Białystok in itself. So today it's quite a big city. It's a city in the northeastern Poland, the biggest one in northeastern Poland, and it's about 300,000 people. But the very beginning of that city, we date back in the middle of 15th century. It's quite an old story, but it's worth to know that the golden age of this town, because at the very beginning it was village, then it was town. So this golden era was in 18th century, and those pictures which you can see are connected with that beginnings and with the golden era. So the owner of that property, so fields and villages around Białystok, the Branicki family, they were very wealthy magnate family. they decided to move from Krakow to Białystok, and they built their mansion, their ancestral seat in Białystok. So it was so-called Versailles of North. So the palace was really incredible, known in history, and in that palace there were very famous and very important guests those days, I mean in 18th century. So in this residence there were guests from all over Europe, like politicians, kings, diplomats. You can ask how come that they were all coming to Eastern Poland little town. So all of them were traveling from Warsaw to Vilnius, because the Polish state, it was like a connection of two countries. We called it Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. So we had in 18th century two capitals. So all those travelers, to make their political deals, they had to speak to each other, and they were traveling constantly from Warsaw to Vilnius and from Vilnius to Warsaw. And during that trips they had to stop somewhere. So it was Białystok, and it was the Versailles of North, so the Palace of Branicki. So the owners organized in this 18th century huge parties, balls, feasts. I can hear something. So those feasts were organized here in Branicki Palace. But to serve that demanding place, the owners had to also make sure that all the people of all professions were living in the town, which was, developing in the shadow of the residence. So not only doctors, architects, painters, gardeners, but also shoemakers, brewers, tradesmen, carpenters, and many, many other people of other jobs were needed to that town of Białystok. So we know for sure that in the second half of 17th century, there was a Jewish community in Białystok. They were already living in Białystok, and we also have the papers, the documents, because their rights were defined in the document confirming the city rights of Białystok in 1692. So on the pictures you can see today Białystok Branicki Palace, and also in the corner you can see the synagogue. As far as we know, because it's the only one picture which survived, this is the synagogue from 18th century. It was dismantled. It was in the town center. It was dismantled, and on this place, the new great synagogue was built in 1912. So that's the base of the history of Białystok and the beginning of the Jewish community here. So next step is to understand and to know how come that from that little town with, I will tell you soon how many Jewish houses were in 18th century, but it's important to understand how come that from that little, small population, Białystok became a very important, huge, very quickly developing city in Russia. Yeah. So in 18th century, let's finish the whole story. In 18th century, when the last owner of the town, Branicki, died, it was 1771. It was the moment that the new owners just counted everything, that the whole property. Also, they were counting the houses in the town of Białystok. And what occurred that there were 280 Christian houses in Białystok in 18th century and 170 Jewish houses. So quite a lot. At that moment, Białystok, it was like up to 4,000 people. Of course, you can ask why we are counting houses, not heads, because the taxes were paid for house, not for house, for chimney. So the owner didn't care about how many people. They cared how many houses. So So it's like 170 Jewish houses. And it was the end of 18th century. And then we lost, as Poland, we lost our statehood. In 19th century, Białystok belonged to the Russian Empire, to Russia. What's important for our story, that Białystok was in the so-called settlement zone. So it means that in the whole Russia, Jews couldn't move freely everywhere. For example, they couldn't settle in, let's say, Petersburg or Moscow. No, they could only move to the special zones, and Białystok was this kind of zone. So many Jewish families, hoping that their fortunes maybe improve in that place, they started to arrive en masse to Białystok, because at the same moment, I mean, the second half of 19th century, the trade and the textile industry were really developing quickly, and it was like a big hope, because when you are in this kind of town with many factories, then you can find a job, you can buy and sell things. So people believe that the fortune is there. Unfortunately, maybe apart from a dozen or so families which made large fortunes, like the example is Zabłudowski family. It was the first Jewish millionaire in Russia from Białystok. The majority of those people usually lived in quite hard conditions. They struggled for work, for survival. And this movement to emigrate from Białystok, for example, to America, started to grow, but still it was quite small when we compare it to the whole population of Jewish Białystok. And then in 1906, it was a terrible moment in our history. It was the pogrom. And after that pogrom in 1906, the emigration was a massive movement. So to that point, was rather not so popular to emigrate. But then after 1906, as far as we know, at least one couple or one young man were, families wanted just them to go to, for example, Argentina or America, and then to Palestine. Anyway, in the 80s of 19th century, in Białystok, almost 80% of people living here were Jewish. And as the result of this mentioned migration, the percentage declined. And just before the Second World War, it was just 50%. So 50,000 out of 100,000 people in Białystok just before the Second World War were Jewish. The emigration was growing, but still, when you compare the other cities to Białystok, other cities in Russia, and then when we regained the independence, other cities in Poland, Białystok was a beloved city, the mother city, the one that offered hope and opportunity. So soon I will tell you about those children of Białystok, because by the 1933, this Jewish community gave to the world thousands of talented and hardworking sons and daughters. So they built and planned their future in Poland, but many of them also contributed in the building of State of Israel as individuals and as groups of youngsters who were emigrated to Palestine. But before those individuals, I would like to tell you a bit about this bands which guys are having here. So what is it? This is biały. Oh, I cannot see. Widać? Okay, if you saw it, so this is a not a perfect one, but it became a symbol of Jewish Białystok. Biały, called also kuchen, that's the other name. These are wheat buns with onions on the top and the poppy seeds, and the proper biały should have the little hole inside in the middle, which you can see on this picture here. It's not very sophisticated baking. Anyway, for some people, it was like really the favorite food from Białystok. And as I told you, it became a kind of symbol. And Samuel Pisar, the one amongst thousands who used to eat that. He also survived the war. Samuel Pisar recounted how he visualized the shape and sour taste of these buns during the hardest moments in Auschwitz. So the sour taste and the shape. And also immigrants missed that buns. So when they were traveling to America and they had really problems with earning any money, they started to bake it and sell them on the streets, for example, straight from the wagons on the corners of New York, for example. So even today you can eat biały in New York. As far as I know, Kozar's is the well-known bakery in Manhattan where you can buy this biały. And all the nationalities are enjoying them, and they don't know what they eat exactly. And again, Samuel Pisar told these words because he was observing those many nations eating biały, and he said, to each of them, it was simply a tasty snack. How could they know that they were partaking of something secret? A bread that evoked bittersweet memories of a culture and tragic corner of Eastern Poland. So, biały is the also important thing for Mimi Sheraton. She, as far as I know, she died a few weeks ago, but Mimi Sheraton published a book called The Biały Eaters. And also you can find this recipe for biały in each traditional book with traditional recipes of Ashkenazi Jewish cuisine. Biały was very quick lunch and very cheap and nutritious and could be bought on the run, you know, somewhere near the main square on the streets. And mornings in Białystok, in our town, were extremely busy. Thousands of youngsters, teenagers, students were heading to various points of the city, probably with białys. And to this day, researchers are amazed by the number of a variety of Jewish schools in Białystok. From the beginning of 20th century to the war, to the time of war, there were many kinds of schools. For example, religious schools like Cheder Metukan or Talmud Torah. Also elementary schools, even two, not one or two elementary schools, and also schools led by Tarbut. Tarbut was a very important school organization, which was quite active here in Białystok. And since 1922, they were helping kids with their education. So those kids who graduate in Tarbut school could continue their education in Poland, or they could go to Palestine. Usually those youngsters who finished, who graduated those Tarbut school, they were also a part of Zionist movements such HaChalutz, HaShomer HaTzair, and many others. Usually those children were from working class families. And the number 3 group of schools were Jewish coeducational gymnasiums. Some of them were having classes in Polish, some of them in Yiddish, but the real proud and crown of the Jewish community was the Hebrew gymnasium, and I will tell you soon about that school. On the pictures, you can see just kids from Białystok and the picture of the whole downtown of Białystok from the end of 19th century. So the buildings of some mentioned schools are still here with us, still exist. Let's look at them. The first one, which is quite close to the hotel, which we are now sitting. So the school is next to us. This is a Tarbut school located in the city center next to the Lipowa Street, which is a high street of Białystok. So this is the Tarbut school, but not only Hebrew language and culture was the main purpose of that school. The most important purpose, it was to raise the qualified Jewish youngsters, so they could be a full-time, well-paid employees, like locksmiths, carpenters, and weavers. They were trained here, they were educated here, and finally, they were also construction workers. So to prevent them from poverty, Tarbut gave them their education. The building, as you can see, it's really nice, but sadly it's abandoned. It was used as a school for years. Now we are waiting. Maybe some money will come from the authorities of Białystok. But look at these bricks. There are two kinds of bricks, yellow and red. And this is the example of so-called Białystok School of Masonry. And it's really like the last example in the city center. So we would like to have a little Jewish museum maybe here, but still in this country, some problems with money. And as I told you, the crown of the Jewish schools, Hebrew Gymnasium, established in 1919. As I was reading in some papers, when it was opened, it was on the lips of the Jewish community all around the world. It was the first school outside Palestine where almost all subjects were taught in Hebrew. Here in Białystok, in Poland. Of course, except Polish language and Polish history, but even Latin, they were studying in Hebrew. The school graduated very important people and future builders of Israel, like Yitzhak Shamir, Esther Goldberg, Joseph Sarlin, Pinkas Adler. Have more information about those people here. But also one of the teachers of this gymnasium, Szymon Datner, he survived the war, and then after the war, he was the founder of the Jewish Historical Institute, very important for our research in Jewish history, so-called JIH. A few words about this word, about this school, sorry. About 400 youngsters were studying every year in this gymnasium. The school was modern, very well equipped, 42 classrooms. They had playground, they had library, the botanical garden, and still the building existing. So now in that building, we have a city hospital. But on the wall, you can see the information about the history. So it can be visited still. And it was so important for the community that in 1995, one of its graduates, Yakov Samit, published a monograph about that school. So let's have a few looks at the kids who were studying there. So many photographs, many photos survived, and they are in the private houses, in private collections. So it looks like only girls, but believe me that here are also the boys. It was the co-educational, of course, school. That is the badge which you can see in front, and this is the hospital today, and this is the information that it used to be the Hebrew gymnasium. And that's the book of Yakov Samit. Yakov Samit graduated this school, and then in 1935 he decided to go to Palestine to be separate from parents, siblings, and thanks to this he survived and left the beautiful memories of that school. Another school, Jewish school, the Ruskin Gymnasium, many pictures here. The building is still existing. Look, this is the building, so we can visit it if you come to Białystok. It's well known all around Poland and even in the groups of street artists, because as you can see, in front of that building there is a mural. The girl with the can watering this tree, and it's an icon of street art in Poland. Anyway, the gymnasium is still here, and this school was also for boys and girls, but mainly there were girls from wealthy houses. Of course, it was private school, like all these gymnasiums. It was nicely also equipped. There was a library, special labs, and even doctor's office. And it met the highest standards. So this school had full rights as a state school. So in fact, if someone was finishing that school, could go to study, everyone in Poland. So the full rights, it wasn't so easy to have that rights. Today, the most famous graduate is Nora Ney, that girl. Her real name was Sonia Najman, and she was living in Białystok, and then she moved to Warsaw and made a huge career. And also Ewa Kracowska, the Holocaust survivor and the participant of the ghetto uprising, she graduated that school, and she was visiting Białystok, and when she was here, she also said that she was dreaming about Białystok because it was her beloved city. But when she were coming here, she was quite sad because she felt that this is a big cemetery. So many memories with that school connected. And we also have Street of Nora Ney, as maybe I said that. Yeah. So a few words about schools. Now, a very important place, I think, in Israel. It's a Habima Theater. It's a national theater of Israel. It's in Tel Aviv. I was there. I think only few people in the world know that the first professional Jewish theater performing in Hebrew was founded in Białystok in 1912. Quite close to Branicki Palace, in the theater called also Palace. And this troupe of David Nahum Tzemach and Menachem Gnesin, it was the touring troupe, so they were moving from place to place with their performances. And even those guys, this theater, visited Vienna in 1913. It was the 11th Zionist Congress in Vienna. And on the stage, they showed the Osip Dymov play Shema Israel. And it was even quite, maybe not very popular, but it was okay. But the guys, after that performances, didn't have enough money even to pay the hotel in Vienna. So they left one of the actors and they went, back to Poland. And then they had to send some money because this actor was kind of the hostage, in this hotel. So it wasn't so easy to be an actor in those days. And then when the First World War broke, Many people moved from that region, from Białystok, from many other regions. They moved to deeper parts of Russia. And also Nahum Tzemach moved to Moscow, and he reactivated this theater. And it was kind of semi-professional stage. But they were working with the, not in the Konstantin Stanislavski in itself, but with his friend Vakhtangov. So they really they were getting better and better. And then communists or Soviets let them go to perform in the other parts of Russia and Soviet Union, and then even in Europe. So they came back to Poland, to Białystok in 30s, and then they even moved to USA. And finally, permanently, they stay in Tel Aviv in 1931. And then in 1958, they granted the status of national stage of Israel. So remember that they are from Białystok. Okay, Habima. Again, very important, I hope, very important story and the history of Białystok and Israel. Because I don't know if you ever heard that the Israel's National Library, which is now in Jerusalem, was the goal of the life of ophthalmologist, so the doctor from Białystok. His name was Joseph Hazanovich. And it was the life goal to make a big and beautiful library in Jerusalem, Jewish, of course, library. This guy was collecting books the whole his life, which you can see here on the picture. Books all around him, but not only books, but also documents, illustrations, and mainly everything was connected with Judaism, but not only. So in Białystok, he managed to collect this huge amount of materials, and in 1895, Hazanovich sent that collection of 9,000 volumes from Białystok to Jerusalem. It was 4 tons of books, and those materials went to Jerusalem Masonic Lodge Bnei Brit. The name, those days, it was Midrash Abarbanel. I don't know if my accent is okay. I don't think so. And it was the first public library in Jerusalem, which, thanks to Hazanovich, was bigger and bigger. And I think now it's one of the most important cultural centers of the Jewish community. Today is the library in Givat Ram campus in the Jewish University of Jerusalem. So also the guy from Białystok. And history of 3 brothers, David, Michał, and Boris, 3 talented brothers. They were born in the family of Abel Kaufman. He was a bookseller, and by the way, here in Białystok in Sienkiewicza Street. And they were living here, but again, during the First World War, the family moved deeper to Russia. And the oldest of the brothers started to study there, and then under the pseudonym Giga Wiertow, he started also his film career. As it's written here, he became one of the most outstanding documentary filmmakers in the history of the cinema. His avant-garde film Men with Camera for years was on the first place on the rankings of the best world's movies. Of course, everything changed in that business, but still in 2005, Time the magazine Time put that movie on the list of the 100 best films in the history of the cinema. And Dziga Vertov and his brother Michael were the creators of so-called newsreel idea. And there were 3 brothers, as I told you, and those 2 were in Russia and then in Soviet Union, but brother number 3, Boris Kaufman, emigrated to America. The brothers never met again, but he made really like a huge career. He was the cinematographer and he was working with Jean Vigo and Elie Kazan, and also he received the Oscar Academy Award in 1955. It was the movie On the Waterfront with Marlon Brando. Also, he was the cinematographer in Oscar-winning movie, which everyone knows, I think, 12 Angry Men. When you are in Białystok, on the streets of Białystok, when you come to our city, I can show you the artistic installation Kino Oko, which is now in the corner, dedicated to Dziga Vertov. And the author is it's a girl from Białystok, Ola Czarniawska. So this is Kino Oko, means eye of the cinema. I called that moment Hall of Fame because many other people who made careers were born in Białystok. For example, the one here is Max Weber. He was born in Białystok in the family of Krywiatycki family, the Orthodox Jews, and they moved from Białystok to America. The whole family moved there. He was 10 years old when he emigrated, and he started to be a painter and the propagator of the Cubism, one of the first of the Cubism in the United States. So today you can, if you have a lot of money. Anyway, his works and paintings are in the most famous galleries in the world, but they are worth millions of dollars. So Max Weber is in fact Max Krywiatycki from Białystok. And another person, Albert Sabin, the picture is here. Albert Sabin was born also in a traditional Jewish family. His surname was Saperstein, but the whole family moved to America in 1921. Albert was educated at New York University, and he was famous because he developed the oral polio vaccine, and he refused to patent here. So he didn't want to take money, and he claimed that this is free for the children of the world. This is his help for the children of the world. So thousands of kids survived thanks to this vaccine of Dr. Albert Sabin. Another person, Itzhak Shamir, I was mentioned about him. He was a politician, activist, prime minister of Israel, of course, member of the Knesset, graduated Hebrew Gymnasium, and then he joined Beitar. And when he was living in Palestine in 1935, he changed his surname from Jaziernicki to Shamir. And Samuel Pisar, few years ago, what a shame, he died 2015. He was a lawyer, social activist, politician, a writer. He wrote a book about his life before war, during the war, and after the war. So you can buy it, I think, on eBay. Or it's really an extremely interesting book. As I can see, the view of Białystok in Samuel Pisar book is really moving. So he was also the attaché of the office of the United Nations Secretary General, the director of UNESCO, also the founder of the French branch of Yad Vashem, and his foster son, Antony Blinken, is now the US Secretary of State. And now we can see the most famous citizen of Białystok. It's Ludwik Zamenhof. He was born here, not far from us, in 1859. His father was a teacher, and in Białystok you can find really many places connected with that person, because for us it's like the icon of Białystok. Since his childhood, that boy spent hours in the main market square of Białystok, Kościuszko Square, that's the name of this square. And those days, I mean 60s of 19th century, when he was a child, this square was bustling with life around the whole tower, city hall tower. And how many languages were used in city center of Białystok those days? It's the whole list, like Yiddish, Polish, Russian, German, Belarusian. So all those languages were spoken here on the streets of Białystok, and that sensitive boy observed that sometimes there were conflicts, problems, created by the lack of understanding, mutual understanding. And in his mind, the idea of the new language, quite easy to study, to learn, was growing in his young mind. And finally, he created that language, which is called Esperanto. It's quite easy to learn, as people say. It's 3 months enough to understand the rules. And he believed that that language gave the people the peace and mutual understanding. Esperanto gained the recognition around the world, so it's well known. It used to be maybe known. Now English is our Esperanto, but the author was nominated to a Nobel Prize several times. And this language is still used by 300,000 people, as far as I know. This language also is quite popular in Korea, South America, and Białystok is undoubtedly the Mecca for Esperanto lovers. You can learn this language here in Białystok, and we have the institution named after Zamenhof, his monuments, murals, and also trail leading in the footsteps of Ludwik Zamenhof. So let's have a quick look at these places. So on the trail of Ludwik Zamenhof in Białystok. First picture is the not existing house where the family of Zamenhof used to live. And this is the picture. Probably Zamenhof saw this Białystok, because this is Kościuszko Square and this is the tower of the city hall, which was a symbolic bubble tower for Zamenhof. This is the old monument from 70s of 20th century. That's the new monument. It's about 4 years old, something like this. A young Zamenhof, as you can see. People from Białystok really loved that small teenager Zamenhof. They gave him a hat because it was snowy day. And also 2 murals. One here stands exactly in the same place where house of Zamenhof family used to be. So this one. And that one is more artistic. Liber por la mondo, which means in Esperanto, freedom for the world. And that's the stone from 1987, which tells us that here is the a national center of Esperanto language. The world of Białystok Jews was extremely diverse, which means that many of them were supporters of so-called Haskalah movement. They were Bundists, they were anarchists, they were pioneers who were planning to move to Palestine. There were also yeshiva students, so many shadows of Jewish culture. But all those people were united by the tradition and religion. So till the beginning of the Second World War in Białystok, we had about 100 houses of prayers, and in that number also 6 large synagogues. 3 of them were destroyed during the war, but 3 of them still exist, although, of course, they are not used for religious purposes because we don't have the Jewish community in Białystok nowadays. It's maybe up to 20 people only. So these 3 synagogues, which forever disappeared, the one is on this picture. It's a choral synagogue. Probably the Zamenhof family used to pray here. It was destroyed in 1933 during the liquidation of the ghetto. The second one, the regimental synagogue, destroyed in 1941, also by Germans. And then Great Synagogue, it was the biggest one, built in 1912. And here we have, as you can see here in the corner, just the monument, which reminds us about that sad place. Also 2 pictures of the famous rabbins from Białystok. One is Samuel Mohilever here. He was one of the most ideologists of the Zionist movement. And here we have the last rabbi of Białystok. Mamy dużo czasu jeszcze? Okay, so sorry, I just was asking how long I can speak. Okay, and 3 synagogues which are still existing. So during the visiting Białystok, you can see them. The first one, Rabbi Mohilever's synagogue, is currently in a very poor condition. But I'll show you. So before the war, it was the most elegant and elite synagogue. It's here on the left side. Now it looks like this. But there are plans, as you can see here in the middle, that maybe if there are some money that they are going to, the authorities of Białystok, they are going to restore that synagogue. So number 1. Number 2, it's Piaskover synagogue. Terrible picture, but I remember that it was the huge fire here. So it was in the beginning of 90s of 20th century, of course. Anyway, that building survived, and it was then restored and looks like this today. And here in that building, it's also the headquarters of our Esperanto Association. And another one, yes, and you can visit it nowadays. It's the old picture of the Cytron synagogue, Cytron family, were the owners of the huge factory here in Podlasie region. So they also were founders of that synagogue, and it looks like this today. And today it's a branch of, the building is used by Ślędziński Gallery. It's a branch which represents and presents the art of Jewish artists from Białystok. So another terrible picture, but truly we have to know that Białystok was destroyed during the war in 80%, and the world of the Jewish Białystok was annihilated. But still, anyway, when you come here, you can see, when we compare to this picture, quite a lot of memorials of those past good times. I showed you schools, synagogues, monuments, also Esperanto language, which is like intangible, but also the big achievements of great Białystokers. But still you can find many places on the streets. I'll show you on the pictures, but for example, you see, these are the small houses, and in the past times, the whole Białystok, the Jewish quarters, especially the quarter called Hanaiki, was fully filled with this kind of houses. Some of them still exist. What else? This kind of tenement houses. We are fighting to survive, to protect them, let's say. It's not so easy because they are in bad condition. And also that is the information about the cemetery, because not existed cemeteries, they are covered by ground, for example, but they are in Białystok, and you can see the special boards, information boards. But still, on Wschodnia Street in Białystok, everywhere the group of volunteers with Professor Heidi Szpeki-Dzikowski are coming every summer, and they are restoring the old matzevot, the old stones. So this cemetery, since few years, it's like reborn. It's absolutely unique place when you compare it even to other places in Poland. And it's testifying that thousands of Jews had their beloved home here in Białystok. Some pictures of still existing traces. It's David Star on the street. That's a factory of Nowik family. Now it's a shopping mall here, but some parts of this 19th century factory is still, as you can see, really beautifully restored. Another factory, the owners were also Jewish families. And this is Wschodnia Street graveyard. And it's only one picture, but believe me, it's only one corner. The graveyard is huge. And Trilling Palace, which is in Warszawska Street, Trilling family, very also wealthy family. And Nowik family palace. So Nowik family factory is here, and that was his home, which is now in the high street of Białystok. Now the owner of that property is a Polish army. And these beautiful tenement houses, some of them in private hands, then they are refurbished, restored. And this is Citron synagogue, and those blue tables are the pieces of art of one of the painter from Białystok, Jewish painter from Białystok, Ben Zion Rabinowicz. So that's almost the end of our meeting, remembering Jewish Białystok. So there are really many places where you can feel that Jewish Białystok, but it's worth to know that Białystok Jews who emigrated to New York, they were not only baking, buns, białys, kuchen, but also they established Białystoker Center and Synagogue in New York, in Manhattan, which still exists today. And they were there, they were in America, in New York, but since 1865, they were helping for their families from old countries. So that's why there were, for example, schools and other places. And also in Israel, there is a settlement called Kiryat Białystok. It was founded after the war, the Second World War. And in 1950, the first saved Białystoker, the people who survived the war, started to settle there. Also, in Białystok, you can see this symbol. You can see it here. This is a Jewish heritage trail, which is quite long. It's 36 objects on that trail. So if you visit Białystok, you can visit all those places. And very important year, 2023. It's going to be soon in August, 80 years since the liquidation of the Białystok ghetto and the heroic struggle of the youngsters of Jewish community. Because I hope you know that not only Warsaw uprising, but also in Białystok, in the ghetto of Białystok, there was an uprising. So we remember, and it's going to be a very important moment in August. So I invite you to observe it, to maybe come to Białystok, because for a few days we will have, walks and meetings and other events connected with that, commemorating days. What else? So that's the picture of Białystok in 1945. And this is the ruin of so-called Schulhof. It was also the part of Jewish Białystok, totally destroyed in 1941. You can find this kind of information tables. For example, the black one here is connected with Itzhak Malmet, the fighter of the ghetto. And the last one, let's remember about him. That's a Mordechaja Tenenbauma, a young boy who was the head of the Białystok ghetto uprising. That's it. And our walk, which I hope is quite interesting, ends with the film impression made by Darek Szada-Borzyszkowski, which is here, of course, with us. And the title is Białystok, History in Walls and Stones. And you can see that places which I was just talking and showing on the pictures on the movie. And these are some information. Darek is an author of this scenario, and he's working in Galeria Ślędzińskich. I'm Ania. I'm a blogger, and that's the address. If you want to contact me, the address is here. And of course, the originators and the technical supervision is Rotary Club of Białystok. Some pictures, very interesting pictures of Jewish community and Jewish Białystok. So thank you for your attention, because I'm just finishing. But remember that in a moment you will see the movie, and I really want to invite you to visit our common city of Białystok. Thank you very much.
So, Anya, thank you very much. I would like to ask Sigal. We've got some questions.
Yes, we have some
questions. Are in Hebrew.
Yes.
As I mentioned, my Hebrew is very
poor.
Yes. I'm sorry for that.
No. First of all, thank you very much. It was a great lecture, and we learned a lot of Białystok city. So thank you very much, Anya. There is a question in Hebrew, not a question. They are saying that the billboard on the Gymnasia Hebrew, it was bring by Zeev Balgali, and Batya Farid saying that her grandfather and her mother and sisters landed in 1936.
1936. Okay, thank you. Thanks for this information. I would like to copy that information to my, papers, because it's very important as well to know who did it.
Who did the description on the wall of the gymnasium.
On the wall of the Hebrew gymnasium, yeah.
Yes, Zeev Balgali. This is the name. And Dalia Ravnov asking, do you know Rachel Rabinovich, my grandmother, who was the manager of the Jewish orphanage in Białystok?
Orphanage. But before the war?
Yes, I think before the war.
Oh, Rabinovich, it was extremely popular surname in Białystok, but of course, there are many documents, so I personally never heard about that lady, but thanks for the information. The orphanage was fully filled with poor children during the war. Yeah, so it was a hard work.
I would say, if you allow me a little bit, on Warszawska Street, there was, and this building still exists, a former Jewish orphanage. Now it's like a hostel for students. And let's say, maybe when we've got Sigal with colleagues, with our friends from Modi'in visiting us, maybe we'll find out we'll look in the archives, because the history of Jewish Białystok is, I think we only touched the surface, yes. So, and I'm pretty much sure that when our friends are visiting us, then we'll show more and more. And that's why, let's say, we also encourage all of you to come and visit Białystok, yes. And in this orphanage, actually, those kids have been going to the countryside. They've been working and bringing back food. Donated this food to the community, let's say community of the orphanage, and that was more or less like kind of a testing place for kibbutz. So, like, no money, sharing the work, sharing the food together. Yes, but for sure we'll dive deeper than when you're across in Białystok. Thank you.
We'll try.
Anya, they're asking, maybe you show again the connection, how they can connect you. Someone who wants to get more information from you.
Okay.
Your connection details.
Yes. Here. You can find on my blog. You can find many articles about synagogues, more details about synagogues, about the life, about ghetto, because the topic of our meeting today is the life to the moment of the war. Yes, so I was just talking about those good times, let's say, yeah. But also I have a lot of information about the ghetto and the uprising. So if you are interested, also you can find some of the information, because the topic is huge. There were thousands of people, thousands of families died, but thousands of them moved to America, to Israel, to Australia, to Argentina, and they also have a lot of pictures and memories. So it's still open topic. So here, www.białystoksubiektywnie.com. Thank you.
I think Sigal will after, let's say, the webinar is finished, on let's say the Facebook the fan page will publish the link to the Anya's blog.
Yes, thank you.
And I think that those are also the contact details to Anya. So if anybody would like to come and then can ask. For sure, it costs some money. Yes, that's nothing for free. Yes, but then you can talk with Anya, or if you got a problem, you can also contact me through our Rotary Club.
Okay, and the movie.
Yes.
No, it's not the movie. We've got more questions. We've got a question: how can we get the Zoom recording? Let's say the Zoom. Yes, the Zoom has been recorded, but we haven't made a decision to publish it. It's actually up to Anya. So if you let's say would ask Anya, then maybe she may decide to publish the Zoom recording. Okay, please stop sharing. Please stop sharing. That's from Yael. Wait a minute, Anya. Please stop sharing.
What sharing?
Screen sharing. Which you need to do, because I need to show the movie.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
So now we stopped sharing, so we can see a little bit better presenters and so on. And then there are questions from Sigal, from Orit and Varda. Have you asked those questions already, or?
It's not a question. Someone, Varda, saying that her father used to prepare the kuchalach.
Kuchelach?
Kuchalach. Your buns with the onion.
Oh yeah, biały.
Yeah, it's kuchen.
Kuchen. Mhm.
Kuchen.
Wow, super.
And they're saying thank you
Thank
to
you.
Anya. What do you know about Farbisten family? Simcha, Bunin, Farbisten?
If in case of any questions of the particular families, we have to check the papers because there were thousands of people. But there are some lists. There are some also people who are researchers. If you really want to know more, I can give you the details of the guy who is really only in researching in archives for the details of the families. But just leave me the message and I can also check my sources, let's say.
Okay, thank you very much, Anya. Okay, Thomas.
Yes, so we are going to the end, and actually this webinar is not finished. Yes, I will basically share the movie. So we'll start the movie very soon. But then we'll basically switch off we'll basically finish. So if you would like to stay and watch the movie, it's around 10 minutes, then you are more than welcome. But at this moment, I would like to thank to Anya for really preparing the tour, and it was really I understand very, very difficult to select what we're showing here, not because it's anything hidden or limited, but basically that the history, the Jewish history in Białystok is so rich that really it's almost impossible to within 1 hour to show even the most important topics. I would like to thank to Sigal for organizing, let's say, the Israeli part. So we've been.
I didn't organize anything.
Sigal for Israeli part. So Sigal,
it's all you, Thomas and Anya.
Thank you.
And Białystok Rotary Club.
With me, I've got Darek Shada. Darek is the, let's say, living history of Białystok, and especially of Jewish Białystok, knows lots of poems, lots of movies, and so on. It's really a very warm-hearted person. He supported us with this project. So, Darek, thank you very much. And yes, we would continue. But the thing is that I think the most touching. This year is 80th, like Anya mentioned, 80th anniversary of rise in Białystok ghetto. We celebrate anniversary every year, and that's basically saying that hope never dies. And this webinar today, and for me it's very difficult. I'm really touched. It's a proven that the brutal force, this fascism, Nazi, never will be successful, and we'll never forget. We'll keep remembering and bringing the history and the feeling and the spirit of Jewish Białystok forward. Because it's not only Jewish, but it's also our city and our history. So thank you very much. And now I'm basically leaving you with Darek's documentary. It's with English subtitles, so please enjoy. This also will be published later on our fan page. Thank you, Darek, for allowing us to doing that. So thank you.
Wie kann ich vergessen mein alten Geheim? Wie kann ich vergessen, von wann ich stamm? Wie kann ich euch reißen mit der Wurzeln ab Bäum? Wo steht ein Fund eures verpflanzt Minastamm? Der Mond mich ist Białystok, hat dich verlost, die freilich wie herzig gescheint an du hast. Die Häuser, die Gassen, die Menschen, der Mond, göttliche Schechine, auf alles hat geruht. Białystok mein Heim, Białystok mein Träum, bei dir geboren und der Zeugen ich bin. In Räusch von die Fabriken gefunden hab Artikel, wo's hat geklappt und nicht geruht die Maschine. Białystok mein Heim, Białystok mein Träum, bei dir gelitten hab ich unverbrennt. In Wald, in Stadtgarten, gelost meine Jugend dorten, wo ewig zieht das Herz azoi, und es hängt. Wie kann ich nicht schweigen und gleichgültig sein? Wie kann ich vergessen meine Heimatminut? Wie kann ich dich wohlgehen und glusten noch schön, wenn ich seh meine Brüder sich erboten in Blut? Ich seh dich Białystok an andere heim, a grausamer Ghetto, a treulicher Dom, an Ungrund von Hefker, von Unkunft, von erneut, a Stücke moresche Heure, was atemt mit heut. Białystok mein Heim, Białystok mein Träum, mit dir in einem kämpf ich und ich leid. Ich seh dann jeden Feuer, was Zeugen ist mit Feuer. Ich seh die Wand, die größte Schand von unserer Zeit. Białystok mein Heim, Białystok mein Träum, in unkumwes Gebäuer auf das Neid. Hab Mut und hab die Tochen, wird niemand der nicht zochen. Die ganze Welt wird werden frei von Sklaverei.
איך הוא הרג אותו?
פה בסביבה הזאת.
אבל אמא...
הוא שפך עליו לחומצה. של הרחוב זה השלט. ופה הוא אומר שפה נרצח. ניכנס לנושא במה הוא התמחה, אבל הוא היה רופא, הוא היה מאוד מאוד חכם, והוא היה ממש בן אדם שתרם לפיתוח.
Wenn sie meine Brüder sich erboten in Blut, ich seh dich Białystok an der Heim, a grojzamer Ghetto, a trojnik.
Ten budynek jest od latach 1890 istniał do roku 1941.
Białystok mein Heim, Białystok mein Träum, mit dir in einem kämpf ich und ich leid. Ich seh an jeden Feuer, was Zeugen ist mit Feuer, ich seh die Wand, die größte Schand von unserer Zeit. Białystok mein Heim, Białystok mein Träum, die Lunken wes Gebäuer auf das Neid. Hab Mut und hab die Pochen, wird niemand der nicht zochen. Die ganze Welt wird werden frei von Sklaverei.
So I think that's
Maya Chada.
yeah. Amaya Haddad, yes, it's a friend of Darek Shada. So thank you very much. Thank you for the meeting tonight. Thank you for your time. And Sigal, maybe, yeah, you?
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much, Białystok Rotary Club, Anya. It was lovely too. We learned a lot. Thank you. And we are hoping Modi'in Rotary Club to visit you in May and to see in our eyes and legs all those buildings and to hear the history of Białystok. So thank you very much. Thank you, Thomas, for organizing this lovely virtual tour.
Yeah. We've got also with us, I would say, sorry for such a late, yeah, we've got Yael Tagerut. Yael is my friend. So Yael, welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight. Would you say a word because you raise your hand?
Well, I just wanted to
thank you because it was a wonderful event, very well organized, and a very, very professional tour guide. So it was a pleasure. And my family on my father's side comes from another part of Poland, not from Białystok. So I'm a bit jealous of the people who have their ancestors from Białystok who can have this kind of friendship with you, your club, and to feel the friendship and to feel this very, very close fellowship. Thank you to Rotary. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Yael. Yes, thank you, Yael. We also got, I think, Sigal, you're okay if we allow those who are raising hand to say a few words.
Okay. How do you unmute it?
Yeah, I'm just Maya Haddad. I think
yes.
You can.
Can you unmute it there?
Yeah, I muted, yes.
Can the question?
Yes, Dalia.
Yes. Anya and Thomas, I told you before, and first of all, I think I'm one of the only people here that my family lived in Białystok before the war, and my father came to Israel and my grandmother in 1935. But I'm very surprised that you didn't mention my grandmother. He was a manager of 5 orphanages between the First World War and the Second World War, Jewish orphanages. And there is a book in English about all the Białystok community before the war, and there's a lot of pictures of her with the orphanages. Were not only orphanages, there was schools there, and I now forgot the name of the street, but I have it all written because I visited Białystok and I saw all these places. Now there's a factory where the orphanages were, and my father and my grandmother, she was one of the 5 people in Białystok that had a phone in the house, because she was one of the, and they lived in 6 Novi Świat Street. And my father, of course, and my father studied in the Hebrew school that you just showed, and I also visited there. And also in Kiryat Białystok, when I was there in the museum, there is magazines and books about my grandmother, and also there were magazines that were written that the Jewish about the Jewish, like, important people were writing a magazine and that magazine about the Esperanto and everything. And my grandmother had an article there about all the all this how do I all this there was so many and she used to go to the States, to the Joint, to collect money for the orphanages, and to South Africa, and but eventually they came to Israel in 1935 because they understood that the situation is going to be not good for the Jews. And the people that built Kiryat Białystok were children that during the war they went to a summer school in, I just forgot the name of the place. And
Druskienniki.
Yes,
it's not an orphanage. Druskiennik, it wasn't an orphanage. I'm sorry to tell you that the children of the Druskiennik, they are not children without parents. It's another story.
I know it's not.
Ze'ev Balgalai is the last man who is alive from the group of how you say, and it wasn't an orphanage.
I didn't say that there were children from the orphanage. I said that the money for the kaitana, for the summer school in that place, came from the Joint, and my grandmother was one of the 3 people that went to the Joint to collect money for that special summer school, or I don't know how to say it in English, that actually saved them because they were there when the Germans entered Białystok.
Like the sports holidays. And to just to mention that our Rotary Club of Białystok, our twin club is also Rotary Club in Druskienniki. Druskienniki now are in Lithuania, like 2.5 hours drive from here. So yes, but I think the history. I've got a special book, and this book I will hand over to Sigal when Sigal is with us. That's Chronicles of Jewish Białystok in Polish and in English. That's a very unique publication, and yes, the history of Białystok is not a very old city. Yes, it's yes, it's the history. Let's say if we counted years, yes, by number, that we are very young city, but the history is very rich, and lots of history is the history of Jewish Białystok. Maya, you also was in
raise your hand.
Yes, so
Maya, do you have a question?
Maya.
I don't know if she has a trouble. She has a trouble with hearing us.
So okay, so I would like to really thank you very much. Thank you, Felix, also, You are our, let's say, warm and good spirit of this. What happened today. So Felix, no, thank you very much. Sigal, yeah, Gidi, Anya, Yael, Maya, and all the participants. Thank you very much. Yes, Darek. Yeah, Darek, thank you for
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
See you next time. Yes.
Next month.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Shabbat shalom.
Shalom.